Today we're going to do a repair on a Typhoon by Triotech, the headrest part of it. You can see if you haven't had this issue yet, eventually you probably will at your facility, unless you have somebody maintaining the ride 24 hours a day. Anyways, this part's all chewed out here. It's supposed to look like that. This is both headrests. I removed them. We're going to trim this down, and then we're going to try to upholster it. I don't claim to be an upholstery king, but we're going to do what we can to save the facility money. We have got some spare upholstery from where we have worked on our restaurant seating before, and I'm going to use that to fix these headrests, make them match, and it should look a lot better than what this does right now. Depending upon how bad it's torn up is what you're going to have to be able to do with it. You're going to have to re-sculpt it or sculpt it, period. I have a straight edge here. I'm going to go ahead and make some marks so I have reference points. We're going to take a razor knife and we're going to trim a good majority of all of this off, the bad part. And yes, the chewed out part does go a little below it here on the headrest, but we're going to fillet that straight off, straight across all there, take off all this upper point. Take your X-Acto knife and run it along these edges. Try and get them to match up as best you can. Sorry, I'm just trying to be sure to judge everything properly here. Doesn't have to be perfect. And don't cut all the way through because it's only so thick here. We're just trying to plane this off is what we're trying to do. Alright, for the most part I can work with that. I've got the pre-cut piece of just basically pleather. Nothing really specific, it's just a scrap piece we had around. It was originally cut out for our seats in the restaurant. But alright, now that we've got our material, we've got the piece, the head piece, we want to establish how this material is going to sit Go ahead and get these extra nuts and bolts off. So I'm going to center it up in the middle here in this piece. I'm going to think about how far my bottom's got to come up to cover these bolts and have enough material that it's going to be sturdy. Probably about like that, and then I need to establish that I can bring it over the top. Alright, looks like I'm going to need a bigger piece. Okay, I've got some extra ones. Alright, I didn't get a bigger piece, I just rotated this one around and checked. So I want to make sure that it works for all the sides, that it will cover and catch a bolt with at least like about an inch of overlap. Alright, so it all looks good from here. Now we're going to start on this bottom first. We're just going to make these two holes. You need a sharp X-Acto knife. We're going to fold the base up until it hits the bolts. You'll feel them underneath with your thumb or your finger. So I can rotate this a little. So you'll feel it hit the bolt. Push it nice and snug to the work surface. And so the material is going straight up in the air next to the bolt. Cut from the base of the bolt back away and just put a nick no longer than about 1/4 inch. Follow your material around to the opposite side over here. Same thing. Find the base of the bolt. Put you a little 1/4 inch nick. And basically that's where we'll end up pushing our bolts through. So that's going to be the start of all of this. So at least we know where we're working with, okay? So now once I've got that established, the next thing I do is I go ahead and pop them back off. Take your piece, and we're going to spray adhesive this so that the material doesn't shift around so much. I've got some high strength spray from 3M. It's got a lot of fumes, so be careful. Don't do any of this around flammable surfaces or flammable objects. I'm going to spray all the sides and everything. I'm not going to spray the part with any of the bolts on it, but everything else we're going to spray up. Try not to spray it on your threads because it'll make it harder for you to get your nuts and washer or your nuts to tighten up. Even though it's high strength, it's still, you can still remove it and readjust it if you need to and reposition it. Alright, so we got our holes from earlier. Remember, all the glue's on the one side, so I'm going to put the glue up in the air for now, and I'm going to push these holes in from the bottom up. Yes, you might get a little bit of glue on you and stuff, but it's all part of it. You want to make sure it tacks up a little bit. Some of this adhesive needs a little bit of time just to get some tackiness. I'm going to roll it up over itself. And at the same time, I'm pushing in on this. There's a curved part in this headpiece, so I'm going to push it to try and make it take the shape. being as cooperative as it has been in the past. There we go, that's the look I'm looking for. I'm going to trim some of this back here. Like I said, give yourself at least an inch here. We can go ahead and trim along the edge of the actual seat cushion, but don't trim down by the last 1/4 inch. Just follow right along the edge of the seat. I left about a 1/4 inch from the end there. Same thing over on this side. Alright, and then we'll go ahead and trim some of this edging off. I'm going to take some weld wood, which is when you want to do something a little bit stronger adhesive. And I'm going to go up underneath this lip of where this edge of the material is. And I'm going to put it on the back of the material as well. We're going to let that sit up for a while we're starting to process some other stuff. Tack it down, it'll just start getting sticky to itself. So now we're going to take another side and we're going to fold it over. Just wrap it around the corner, and then I'm going to bring this flap straight over top, and I'm going to do the same thing where we put a nick in it. Once we locate where this rod is, the thread's coming out, I'm going to put a nick right at the base of the rod and bring it towards myself. Just a small one. And bring it up and over the bolt head and press it down, just like so. Do the same thing on the opposite side. I'm going to fold it right around the corner. Bring it up and over the top. Find where the bolt head comes out of the base of the head. Put your blade right at the base of the bolt and cut away from the bolt. Lift it up and over. Press it down on that. So it's going to pull it nice and tight around your edges. Okay, then you can go ahead and trim back off some of this side here. I'm going to trim it about maybe a 45-degree angle. Be sure not to cut any of your work underneath. You don't want to ruin everything you just did. Same thing here. Alright. I'm going to trim this side off some too as well. Still not tacky in the middle yet. While it's drying, we're going to go for our next step. We're going to fold this corner up straight at almost at a 90 degree and bring this seam right here. Not showing you. We're going to fold the corner up and we're going to bring this seam basically up in the air and try and make that a nice corner. Alright, I need to get some of this excess off. Makes it just so I have less to pin down. So I'm going to cut from this corner back. There we go. Remember not to cut anything underneath that you're going to need. Then I'm going to cut this part back some. Not too far, because I saw where I got to go to. Probably about another 3/4 of an inch. You'd rather cut too short than, or cut it, leave it long, than cut it off and have it be short. Okay, so now we got the corner established here. I'm going to bring it over, same thing, I got my threaded rod here. Put it over tight, put a nick right at the bottom. Good, I can cut this off. Alright, our weld wood's dry enough. I'm going to go ahead and get this nice and sealed and tight. So I'm going to pull some tension up in it. Press it down to itself. We'll see if it starts pulling back. Yeah, it's pulling back, so I'm going to let it set up a little bit more, a little bit longer. I should be able to bring this piece over the top though. And put it in its nicked cut hole. There we go. So all in all, this section here should be done. I'm going to put a washer on it, put a nut on it. This is just to hold it while I work on all the other parts. There we go. And you can also trim it off as well. Or everything up under here is actually going to be tucked and hidden up under the game itself. Let's try again, see how well this holds. Should be holding fairly well. I'm going to go ahead and tack it. Got a staple gun as well to do that, but I use the adhesive, it helps a little bit extra. And we're going to pull some tension out through the front. Pull this part taut. There's another bolt head. There's another bolt head right here. Doing the same thing. We're going to push it down till it's tight where you can find the edge of it. We're going to nick it. Put it right over the bolt head. Just like that. Do the same thing over here. But we got to go ahead and get our side trimmed over here and get this folded up. Establish where it's going to crease at. And what I can actually remove. itself. Hold it over nice and tight. Find that bolt head, or the bolt threads. Put our nick in it. Bring it up and over. Alright, same thing here for the most part. This part's done. Let's go ahead and secure it down so it doesn't move on us. Moving on to our second bolt up here. Pull it nice and taut. Find where it comes out of the back of the headrest. Put a small nick from the bolt base back to ourselves. Alright, we will go ahead and trim some of this excess off. Good. Alright, next step is we need to work on bringing it around the head, around the top curve here. So we're going to fold these parts in, bring it right over. That's at our top. We're going to do the same thing. We got the two bolts up here in the head, in the headrest. We're going to go ahead and now that we've brought it over top, we're going to locate where those are at and do the nick and tuck. I nick it first on both sides because if I try and tuck it on there, it'll actually take a different shape. Alright, so we got those bolt heads through there. Now we just got to get down to the hard part. We're working on making the fold to bring it around on the inside. Let's go ahead and we're going to cut straight up these sides alongside of the headrest here. Remember, keep yourself about 1/4 inch short of the end. I'm going to trim some off as well so I can see what I'm working with here. Okay. Come right up the sides. Just lightly. About 1/4 inch from the top. Same thing over on this side. Don't get in a rush. You don't want to nick too deep. And we're gonna fold these tops. Go ahead and you can trim this off from where you stopped cutting. Come about 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch down from where you stopped cutting and bring it straight over. have this to make a nice rolled edge, so when you fold it, nobody's going to see that the cut edge frayed out here. So now you can go ahead and leave this up in the air, but bring it over, and you want to find your next bolt connection where it's going to be down here in this piece of material. Locate the base of the bolt, put your nick in it, fold it over, just punch it right through the bolt head. So when it's done, it's going to end up looking like that, because we're going to glue this with some contact cement. So now that you know where it's going to be, see if we can fold some of this around itself. Bringing this corner up, you're just going to have to work with it on your own to find the best resting point. I'm going to do some relief cuts here. I'm going to actually cut straight across this back on the inside up top here. Might be kind of dark, but just so that it'll fold better for me. Need to do one here as well. Watch your hands, don't cut yourself. Okay, before I get this in this position, I'm going to go ahead and trim down this side. Just gives me a little less build-up to have to deal with. It's not going to make the most perfect corner here because this is really an odd shape to try and take. I'm sure a master upholsterer would know exactly what to do. I don't like the way that looks, so let's try this. I think I can live with that look. Now I see where I got to slice it. Give myself some relief in my work. Alright, now I see what I can remove. Take that out. Hold that part to there. That's the look I'm going to go with. Now we're going to go ahead and tack this side down. Cut off some of the excess, just to make sure that the seat will rest properly. We'll start working on the other side. This side is actually complete up here. I think about how far I'm going to bring it over. I'm going to slice it straight down here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to glue this side so it can start drying so I can show you quickly what's going to happen. I'm going to glue the fabric on both sides and this front piece here. This is contact cement, extra sticky. Okay, while the glue's on there, roll it down, fold it inside to itself, how you want it to be. Like this is not doing for me. And then press it to itself, just one time. That way you're getting the glue right on the spot you want it to be on the lip. Then just let it fold back out and let it dry. And we'll start working on the other side. So I'm going to fold it down. Let's go ahead and bring it in so we know where this bolt's going to be at. Put my nick in it. Bring it over top of the bolt head. Come on. That's a tight fit. There we go. Work on rolling it down. Bring it across itself so I can see what's excess that I can cut off. I can at least cut this to here off. Get it out of my way. We'll work on the same thing again, trying to tuck all these corners back in. It's hard to do it from a different side. Think about how it's got to fold up under itself so you can figure out where your relief cut's got to be. I'm going to go ahead and cut it across here. Sorry, I gotta alter this a different way where you probably won't see most of the work I'm doing, but I just can't really, unless I try it from this direction. Cut some of this out, little bits at a time. There's the headrest. I got two pretty good points here, two good fold points. I'm going to cut it across here, I believe. Got a segment I can cut out. Pull it nice and tight. Fold both of my corners. There's a little bit more I can cut out here. Looks pretty good to me. I think that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to fold it down. I'm going to get my gun. I'm going to go ahead and shoot this side. Now this side, yeah, it's gotten tacky. I'm just going to roll it down to make sure you can see. I'm going to roll this piece over itself so it should stick to itself. Bring it back to the part I put the contact cement on and press it to it. And I'm going to go ahead and glue the other side. It's not the most perfect headrest, but it's better than what it was. Make sure I press that and it'll stick to the adhesive on the inside. We're going to glue this top lip here, or we're going to glue the inside back, and I'm going to glue all this material on the inside. Then we'll fold it over, stick it to itself, and that's when it'll put adhesive here for me. Alright, now the adhesive's there. We'll go ahead and fold this over the edge to where it'll look nice and crisp. And then we'll bring it back to itself and stick it. So we'll know that right at that point, that's where the adhesive is going to hold it. And I see I can trim some off here. I'm going to go ahead and trim about 1 inch off straight down this piece. Go. Now we just let it sit up and dry. I'm going to pull a little bit of tension out of these tension into these sides. I'm going to go ahead and tack it. Go. Go ahead and put my washers and nuts on and tighten them down. The reason I do that is it presses everything down flat, so when I go to install it, it doesn't give me a hassle with tightening up. Press that. Even though the other side was kind of sticky, it still kept coming undone, but it's starting to get better every time I re-stick it. So I gotta get this in a position where I can work with it. And once it dries and sets up, this is our newly finished headpiece for the Typhoon. Not too bad, not too shabby. I did show that I had a good piece, one that wasn't tore up and another one that was. The only reason I do both of them, for one, so it doesn't look tacky in the facility, one upholstered, one not. And for the other reason is because if individuals see that the other one's not fixed up, or that the one with upholstery is, it gives them more of a challenge to try and destroy it as well and tear it up as well. So now it's just time to go install it. drop it back into place and go ahead and take these nuts off of it. Remember when you reinstall it to do your install your 2 top head bolts first, and then do the 4 that are on the back of the headrest second. So I'm actually going to lock these upper 2 in on the top part first, and then I'm going to do these lower 4 into these spots here. Bolts down inside the chair. And watch when you stick your arm in, there is fiberglass in these holes. You don't want to scrape your arm all up or get fiberglass in you. Not too bad, not too shabby. See, we got both of them back in.